Hiring an interior designer is one of the most unusual professional relationships you will enter into. It's not like hiring a contractor, where the deliverable is finished, the scope is already defined. It is not like hiring an accountant, where the perimeters are largely fixed. You are hiring someone to hold your preference, your lifestyle, how you move through the space, what matters to you in a specific room and what doesn't, and translate all of that into a physical environment that does not exist. That requires a specific kind of trust. And most people enter into it without even knowing what to look for, without knowing what to ask, without knowing what is the right answer to those questions and how should it sound like. Now, this video is the information I wish every single client had before they hired anyone. Not because it will make the process easier for the designer, but because it makes the outcome better for the person who has to live in the space when it was designed and built. Now, I'm Ariana Adireh Anderson, designer and founder of ARIID Group in Kirkland in Greater Seattle area. I have been working with hundreds of clients across Pacific Northwest and other states, and I have been hired well and hired poorly. I understand this conversation from both sides of the relationship. Most people start searching for a designer before they have answered the most fundamental question. What is this project specifically for? Here is a significant difference between, well, I need someone to furnish and style a living room, or I need someone to manage the full home renovation from design all the way through completion. I need someone to work alongside with my contractor to specify and ensure the finishes are proper. These are completely different scopes, and the type of designer you need is different for each one. A designer who excels and does only furniture curation and interior styles may not have the technical documentation skills required to guide the construction project. A designer producing detailed construction drawings and oversees the build may not have or be qualified for furniture-only engagement. Knowing what you need before you search will make it possible to find the right person. Doing it vaguely, well, it would lead to vague match, and vague cost everyone time and a lot of times money. Portfolio. Start here. Not to decide whether you like their style, but to assess whether they have done similar work and the complexity of work to what you're looking for. A designer with a portfolio that has beautiful small residential interiors may not have the experience to manage a custom build and to work with specialties and a general contractor. The portfolio tells you what they have actually done. This is different from what they can tell you they can do. Also look at whether the project in the portfolio look different or they're similar to each other. If every project has the same palette, same furniture, same styling, same overall feel and look, the designer has a signature look. It's not a problem if you love it, but it is a problem if what you want is to reflect your personal lifestyle, your personal specific life, because a designer with a signature look will bring that look to your project, whether or not it fits. How do you bill, and what exactly does that billing cover? Some of designers work on hourly fees, flat project fees, percentage of a total cost, or maybe a combination of few. It's not a specific model that's more correct, but if a designer cannot explain their billing structure in clean, plain language, that is the most important thing they have told you about themselves in the entire conversation. The clarity of explaining will reflect in every financial conversation of the project as you come along. What will I receive as a deliverable? A floor plan, an elevation, a source list with product links and pricing. These are the documents that your contractor or cabinet manufacturer or tile installer will need to work from. Now, without them, the project stalls. Cost ballooning because the decisions are being made in the field without the documentation. As a client, you become a middleman of every conversation between the designer and the people doing the work. A designer who cannot tell you exactly what the documentation they will produce is telling you something important about their process. How many projects are you currently managing? A designer carrying 12 active projects simultaneously cannot give you the same focus and attention when you have a significant investment and the requirements for it. You need to understand where you fall in their capacity. How big is their team? What does your process look like from the first meeting to final installation? A clear answer to these questions tells you two things at once. They have a process and they know how to explain it. Both matter. They agree with everything you say is the most significant giant red flag and the hardest to recognize as being a problem. When you are in the middle of the first conversation, you are not paying a designer for them to agree with you. You're paying for their judgment, their ability to see what you cannot see, their willingness to say, I think there's a better direction here, and here's why. A designer who validates everything without pushing back is not designing for you. They are just taking orders from you. The most valuable thing a designer does is the thing that requires courage on their part. That's telling the client what they, a lot of times, do not want to hear. If that is not happening in your relationship as you progress with the project, it will not happen in the beginning, middle, or end. They cannot explain their fees clearly. Their vague is not accidental. It will appear again and again later in the project, and it will appear at the most worst possible moment. They describe their process as figuring it out as they go. Good designer is organized. Good designer has documentation and a sequence and a process. Designer who does not have a clear process produces unclear outcome. Every project in their portfolio looks the same. It is only a red flag if you want something that's specific for you. If you love their look, well, maybe they're the right designer for you. But if you want your home to reflect your particular life, you need a designer who will start from you, not from their aesthetics. They ask questions and they want to understand your life, not what you specifically like on Instagram, but how you actually live. Do you cook? Do you work from home? Do you have children who are going to be in the kitchen constantly? And how do you want to feel in the morning? Do you want to feel energized or calm? What do you need your bedroom to be? A retreat, or does it need to function like a second office? The right designer is trying to understand the life before they suggest anything of how your room should feel. They are not suggesting a mood board. First, they listen, and then they will produce exactly what you need for your specific space. Not something that's generic that can belong to anyone, but something that will be you and build for you. Hiring a designer is an act of trust. You are trusting someone with a significant financial decisions and with something more personal than you were to hire for any other things. It's a place where you live and how you will feel when you come home. How will you feel during the day? That trust should be built on honest information. You need to ask the question, listen to what the answers are, not just what they're saying. Notice when do they push back, whether they give you a clear process, whether they are proposing actual things to address problems that you have been trying to solve, and choosing someone with judgment you will genuinely respect. Before you sign any documents, ask to see samples of scope of work in those documents. Not a mood board, not an inspirational deck. What you want to see is your defined scope of work. The documents that define what the designers will do, when will the deliverables be, and what happens next? What is the next step? A scope of work both protects you and the designer. It defines what you're paying for. It specifies what happens when the project grows or what happens next. Without written scope, that conversation happens after the project is already underway. When the relationship has a momentum, then on your part, saying no feels like it's sabotage to your investment. That is a wrong moment to have a financial conversation. A clear scope of work means that the conversation did happen in the beginning, before anything happened, before anything was designed, before anything was ordered, or sometimes even built. When everyone can look at the same document and agree what is happening and when. Misaligned designer-client relationship does not just produce an interior or a build that you don't love. What it also produces is something that is very expensive to unwind. By the time most people realize that they are in mismatch relationship, they have paid for a retainer, committed to selections, and in many cases, might have even started the construction process. The cost of starting at that point is not only financial, it is also time. It is months of living in transition. It is the defined decision and the expanded timelines that come with changing direction mid-project. The way to avoid that cost and that extra time is to define and determine whether you're the right fit in the beginning. It is not a long process, it is a careful one. The right questions ask in the first meeting will cost you absolutely nothing. Now, hiring the wrong person will be expensive. Asking the questions, not so much. Trust what you observe. Do not confuse a designer whose portfolio you love with a designer who is the right person for your specific project. Those sometimes may not be the right person. I want to return to something I mentioned earlier because it is the most counterintuitive part. When you are in a meeting and a designer challenges something that you said. The instinct is often discomfort. You have done your research, you know what you want, you came in with a direction. And this person, your designer, is questioning it. That discomfort is the process working correctly. A designer who never challenges anything is not designing. They are transcribing. The challenge is where the value lives. The moment a designer says, I understand the appeal of this, and here is something that I have observed, and I just think we should go in a different direction, and here's why. Now you are actually paying them for the expertise, not just agreeing with you. And this is the whole point of this relationship, is to ensure you're getting what you need and what your space needs. Now, in the next video, I'm going to walk you through luxury upgrades and what will disappoint, including some that I have talked my clients out of and the reasons why. So please subscribe if you haven't done that already, so you do not miss the next episode. And I will see you there.